Good morning and welcome to this morning's Sunday service. It's nice to see all of you here. We'd like to begin the Sunday service this morning with Shiguseikang on page 228. So Shiguseikang on page 228. Please rise. Please remain standing for Vandana Tisarana on page 17.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sambuddhassa. Homage to him, the exalted one, the enlightened one, the supremely awakened one. Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami. I go to the Buddha for guidance. I go to the Dhamma for guidance. I go to the Sangha for guidance. Namu Gye Butsu. Namu Gye Ho. Namu Gye So.
Please be seated. We will now have meditation. sutra chanting is on page 32, Hanya Shinkyo, page 32. And the recitation after the Hanya Shinkyo is on page 140. It's called the Fueko. That's done after the sutra chanting.
我らと主情と皆共に仏道を超然ことを地方三子四父子孫部三母子三
Our reading for this morning is on page page 246. Page 246, the 5 fundamental precepts. On page 246. This will be led by Deacon, Deacon Childs.
The 5 fundamental precepts. Let us be mindful of the following 5 fundamental precepts in our daily lives. 1. Cherishing all life. 2. Respecting the property of others. 3. Not misusing our sexuality. 4. Practicing kind, loving, and truthful speech. 5. Avoiding substances that cloud our minds.
Our Gatha for this morning is on page 170, the texture of the life, page 140. Please rise. Please remain standing for show meal. Please be seated. Our Dharma talk this morning will be by Deacon Childs.
Ohayo gozaimasu. Good morning, everybody. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Good, good. Well, I hope all of you have been doing well. This is the first time I've got to talk to a group since the, can I say, COVID-19 adventure started. And I'm sure it's been difficult for all of us, but you know, it has been very difficult for me. Maybe in the beginning it was okay for the first couple of days, but as it wore on, I noticed something. I wouldn't remember what day it was unless I went and looked at a calendar, and I couldn't think, okay, if I go to place A, do I need this? If I go to place B, do I not need this? But I really felt that honestly, that my memory was starting to go. And I am 69 years old, and you know, it could happen, right? And I thought I was the only one feeling this way. I talked to a lot of my friends, you know, we still stay in touch, even though the virus. And they're mostly like in my age group, you know, local Japanese, a few other kinds of people, but they've all told me the same thing. They've too felt kind of surreal, you know, is this a dream? Am I awake? Where am I? What am I doing? And I decided that I had to do something about it. Okay, as you probably all know, I enjoy the practice of Zazen, but I realized something. Even I can't do it all day long. That would be impossible. My joints would wear out. I wouldn't even be able to stand up and talk to all of you. So I started to think, because people would ask me, you know, for advice, what can I do to kind of stay with the program and not feel like I'm losing it? I thought of something. And this might be kind of a boring talk, but I hope you'll bear with me. One thing that has gotten me through a lot of my darker moments in my life has been philosophy. Now, when I say that word, some people kind of cringe. Oh, come on, Frank, I don't want to hear about that stuff. That's all hyperbolic, that's all out there somewhere. No, not really, because sometimes philosophy can kind of keep you grounded and keep you here and kind of give you something to live for in a time that's rather rough. And there was a man like that I would like to speak of. And let me get my paper here. After all, I used to know his dates by heart. I don't anymore. Oh well. He was a German thinker, Martin Heidegger. He lived from 1889 to 1976. He's considered one of the most important thinkers. He didn't like the word philosopher. He liked thinker. Thinkers of the 20th century, at least. And from his adolescence all the way to his grave, he had one thing on his mind: being, B-E-I-N-G. What does it mean? It seems the most elemental thing at all, of all, you know. What's the big deal about it? We are here, so what? Well, he went deeper than that, because he had a lot of questions, and he just had to get to the bottom of this being business. He once said he was like a man possessed. You know, like sometimes people have seance, and maybe there is a medium or a psychic, and he or she is possessed by a spirit. That's how he felt in his life. He just had to try to understand what is being. Started out to be a Roman Catholic priest. Didn't make it. They had a agility test, if you will. He had to be able to swim well. he couldn't because he had arrhythmia, irregular heartbeat. So that's when he really got into philosophy. He really wanted to know, what am I doing here? You know, one way to phrase his question. Okay, you look at the sleeve of my robe. I think you would agree with me, if I make this sentence, the sleeve is black. Yeah, not a problem. But Heidegger's question was this: fine, we know what the sleeve is, we know what black is. My question is, what is? In other words, what is being? And he, of course, went on to study philosophy in Freiburg, Germany. And believe it or not, in his day, you know, the 1920s and 30s were some good times and bad times for him. He was like the rock star of philosophy. I kid you not. He was a very good-looking man when he was young, kind of medium height, black hair, dark eyes. He was Schwabian, you know, that's the Germans who come from the south of Germany, by France. And he had a lot of, he was a very popular instructor. Why? Because he didn't just give classroom lecture. When they talked about Aristotle, Aristotle was known as the walking philosopher. He'd go around and he'd look at things. Why is it? Why does a bee buzz? Why this? Why that? How do animals live? I'm watching a cat. What does the cat do to live? Kind of hands-on and experiential. Well, Heidegger did that too. He'd insist that his students walk around and experience life. And not just have it inside here, but with your whole body, with your whole being. Can't get away from this word, can we? But what really helped me regarding Herr Heidegger was that he was interested in something else too, that no other Western thinker had been. What do we mean by nothing? You have to understand that was very radical for Western people. You know, Western philosophy, they don't like the idea of nothing. They didn't want to deal with it from about maybe for 2,500 years. We want nothing to do with that. But in something that Heidegger wrote in the late 1920s, maybe 1927, he said something that was kind of frightening when I first read it years ago, but I kind of got a little glimmer of it lately. You know, we'd like to think, well, at least we're alive. At least I'm here now and all of that. But this nothing business, this is no good. But he said that if we think about times when we have anxiety, like we have maybe anxiety during COVID-19 time, Heidegger would say, look at your anxiety. Think about it. It's not like dreading. If you dread something, you dread a specific thing that's going to happen. Say, I dread having to go to the dentist to have a tooth filled, something like that. You can put your finger on it. But anxiety, like maybe some of us have been feeling during COVID-19 time, it's kind of free form. We can't say what it's about. If someone asks me, you know, Frank, what is it? What's bothering you? I'd have to say, nothing really, but I'm just anxious. That's, you know, words can have many meanings. And Heidegger wanted to look at nothing, not as profoundly as Asians do, but at least it was a beginning. And he came to this conclusion. In our lives, we say that this is my life, this piece of paper, and I'm just holding it out here. He said, it's held out over nothing. What did he mean by his nothing? It's always perishable. I could drop it, this paper could blow somewhere and eventually be no more. Our lives are like that. We are always suspended over nothing. There's nothing we really know about how long we will live. Will I have a good day tomorrow? What can I do about yesterday? Nothing. And he said it is the fact that we really feel it, really appreciate the nothing, as frightening as it is. Buddhists, probably some of you are guessing, would see this as mujo, impermanence. So maybe Heidegger had a little flash, a little insight into that. But he said the fact that we are continually on the verge of nothing, of fading away, falling away, is exactly what makes our life precious. It's dark all around us, but realizing that there's like a little glimmer of life, and yes, this precious moment, this being here right now, is indeed very precious and worth it. So that's something that's paradoxical, that's, oh, not so good, oh, nothing, ooh, don't like that. That's exactly, in a way, what gives us the power to go on, if we stop and we really look at it. In other words, be present here and now. Well, what else can I say about him? I know it sounds kind of strange, so I'll tell you kind of a humorous story about Heidegger. He was sincere about his love of being and wanting to know about being. And I told you he was very famous as a younger man, as a professor. And all people have their temptations. He fell in love with one of his students. He was already married. And he's German, and he fell in love with a Jewish girl. This is the 1920s. Her name was Hannah Arendt. She became a very famous philosopher in her own right. But to show you how sincere Heidegger was for being, time goes by. It's 1952. It's post-World War II. Things are not so good in Germany. The Heidegger family doesn't have much money. And Heidegger's talking to his wife one morning, you know, after thinking about being and taking a sip of coffee probably. He said, oh, honey, do you remember that Jewish girl you were so suspicious of? You thought all those years ago I was fooling around with her? And his wife said, yeah. And he said, well, guess what? She's coming to stay with us. She'll be here in about 3 days, and she'll stay with us for about 2 weeks. Isn't that nice? I'm hoping the three of us can get together and think for a new beginning in philosophy. I mean, you got to be hardcore to confess if you fool around to your wife or something. But Heidegger was a very pure soul. He really meant it. So Hannah Arendt comes, and at first Heidegger's wife was, you know, resentful of her for obvious reasons. But life is strange. She started to like this Jewish lady, Hannah Arendt, because she thought this way. Hannah Arendt has lived in America. We, the Heideggers, need money. Heidegger's most famous book, Being and Time, we have the original manuscript for it. And America's a big country, so Heidegger's wife asked Hannah Arendt, oh, do you think we could sell it to the University of Texas? And Hannah Arendt looked at her, what do you mean? Well, America's a big country. That's the biggest state in the Union at that time, and we need the money. You're good at business, so would you help us sell this manuscript? You know, this is just the strange humor in life. And so if you take away anything from my talk, please consider that there's nothing wrong with wondering. Not everybody likes philosophy, but I have a friend, he's a member of this temple, comes sometimes to do Zazen with us. His thing right now is reading Taoist, Dokyo philosophy. He's finding that helps get him through. So if you have something that you like, that you want to study, in these kind of gruesome times, I hope you will do that, and also keep a sense of humor. So I thank you very much. And now I will read Metta Bhavana. If I remember, it should be on page 252. we surround all beings with infinite love and compassion. To those in suffering and sorrow, to those in doubt and ignorance, to all who are striving to attain truth, and to all who are standing close to the great change we call death, we send forth oceans of wisdom, mercy, and love.
We do have a few announcements before we conclude today. There'll be no Sunday service next week. We're starting our Bong services, and that's why you see all these pieces of equipment, and Reverend Yoshida is on the computer, as well as trying to man the cameras. So it will be going viral, and if you still aren't able to access that on your computer, then just let him know and he can teach you how to do it. But we got actually a fairly good response yesterday, which was the first full day that it was on, with people saying, I don't see my name on there. So even if we said it's there, or oh, we forgot, at least we know people are accessing, the information. So we do have that on now. So if you access it, you can see if your name is on. It's by dates. So you can see if your name is on the list or did we forget. Just give us a call. I have all these little notes now from people calling. So we're glad that it works. So if any of you need assistance, then don't hesitate to, talk to Reverend Yoshida. So Sunday service will begin again on July 12th, which is the second Sunday in July. We will see all of you back here on July 12th. We do have a service at 11 o'clock today. So if you'll help us just close the second half, the doors on the second half, and leave the front side open, we'd appreciate it. It was nice seeing all of you here today. We will see you, on July 12th. Take care, and just give the temple a call if you need any help. Thank you. And then if you did not bring your book, the book that you use, please bring it up front and leave it on the first pew so we can wipe it down.